Shalom, dear friends. Good evening. It's Monday night here, and I usually will put our journaling video on Tuesdays, but I have a busy day tomorrow meeting a bunch of brides for alterations. It is the season, so I just thought I'd come on a little early and talk about the subject I wanted to talk about today, which is Word of the Year. I don't know if you do a word of the year or if you've heard of word of the year, but you can actually see it across all different platforms, people talking about their word of the year, especially around January or around December as they're getting ready for the new year. Right now it's August, but I'm already thinking of what my word for next year will be, and I'm kind of starting to wrap up some of my studies of my word this year. So I thought I'd bring you along. I want to do a series of some of my journals and some of my words of the year, but I thought before I dive in and show you that, I would show you what a word of the year is, how I prepare for it, how I choose one, all those kind of fun things. And so I thought maybe that might be something you'd want to do this year. It has really changed and transformed my life because I'm more focused. I'm listening to God. It's not that the word is magic. It's not that it's my mantra, because that's another religion. It's not something that I will help me manifest. That's also another religion. That's not what I believe. What I believe is I worship the one true living God, and He wants to have a relationship with me, and He wants to have a relationship with you. And in my searching and discovering through my journals and through some of my frustrations and the hurdles that I went through, I actually came across, I think it was a Guidepost magazine. You know those little magazines? My mom used to just pass them on to me, and they have cute little stories in them about angels and this and that, and about miracles people see. And, you know, people just write about their faith and about their struggles and what they've overcome. It's just a really good, feel-good little magazine. So I used to read it here and there when I needed a little pick-me-up. And I opened it up one year, probably somewhere around 2010, 11, something like that. And I had been running my business for quite a while. I had gone through an incredible recession that was horrific. It was hard to pull a business that it was only 3 or 4 years old, that still had debt and hadn't paid off everything through this horrible recession where people stopped doing luxury things. And sometimes people think a wedding is luxury, which if you do it all the way, it is luxury. You can do it a lot less expensive, but when your business relies on that, it's scary when people stop doing luxury items. So we had quite a few years there that were a little scary. And so I really just clung to my Bible and just clung to God. And through some of those years, I just let His promises come true to me, and really started to study them, and then also started to study and find out that some of the promises that everybody claims aren't promises at all, but more of a contract, or more of a, I'm trying to think of the word for that. They have a condition. Like if you obey me, you're going to prosper. That's not a promise that you're going to prosper. That's saying that just the act of you obeying is going to put you in the position that you're going to prosper. So I learned how to sort out, those type of things, the actual promises that happen no matter what, like my salvation is secure no matter what, or, all of that kind of stuff. That's a whole nother video. But I ran across this little article, and I had really been just searching, struggling, and the lady there did a word of the year. And I was like, what is this word of the year? So she kind of went through how she would pick a word, she'd pray about it, and then choose a word, and then she would just kind of think on that all year long and maybe look for Bible verses and stuff like that were that. And she would just kind of live that way. I read another article where one gentleman, he did a word of the year and he chose a word of the fruits of the Spirit. So love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control. And that was more of a word of the year to improve yourself. So if he chose patience for his word that year, he was going to learn everything there is to know about patience. He was going to search it, look for the definitions, all of that. When he did love, he learned how to love others and to, all that went with love. So then I read a couple others that had done words of the year a different way. So I think we were entering into 2012, and we had come out of that recession. Our business was starting to come back. We were starting to improve things, but we were still like in a mound of up to our eyeballs in debt because of the recession and everything that happened, and how the faucet was basically turned off. So my first word of the year is not an impressive word. It was actually, I chose the word debt. My very first word of the year was debt, and that is only because all I could see around me was debt. And I was praying for that following year that we would figure out how to alleviate this debt. And God answered those prayers. I mean, through a lot of hard work on our part, but God answered those prayers. He gave us ways to do that. He connected us with the Dave Ramsey that year program. He connected us with another business that would help us kind of not consolidate, because it wasn't a consolidating thing. It was a way that they would stop the interest so we could just pay on the principal. Some really good things happened that year. But then what also ended up happening is I started looking up the word debt in the Bible. And I came across things about how we had a debt to pay because of our sin, and how Jesus paid the debt for us. And so my word debt became actually a bigger meaning than just financial debt. So I studied it all that year. And that was, 2012. So the next year came and I thought, I kind of like this word of the year, and I'm going to pick another word. And I just read through some of my journals, and I had really wanted to have, since we were really getting rid of some debt, I wanted to have the word abundance. And so that fall, 2012 fall, I just started praying that I would choose the right word, and that God would lead me, and that He would finish helping us pay our debt off. And I ended up choosing abundance. And then New Year's Eve was coming up, and we ended up going, I think, to a church service, and the entire thing was an amazing service, all about faith. And it's like I knew when I left that service, my word isn't abundance this year, it's faith. And that was a little bit scary, because I knew picking a word like faith would be a lot like picking a word like patience. You're going to come out wiser and you're going to come out learning a lot, but it might be a rough road. I did find out it was 2013, and we had just come through that huge recession. Things were picking up. Brides were getting married again. I was getting debt paid off. We were on the right track. And we were 1 week into January, where we usually have Bridal Expo and all of that. And I suddenly had this feeling, because how Expo turned out and how my first set of brides, I think it's going to be a hard year because these brides are a little bit superstitious. In 2013, some of them aren't going to want to get married. I said to my tuxedo rep, I don't know, I'm a little bit worried about this year. We're barely pulling out of this recession and crawling out of this hole. And I can already tell that a lot of the brides coming to the expo are having 2014 wedding dates. They're planning way ahead. And they're not ready to buy their dresses. And I'm not sure if they're going to do their tuxedos. And my rep, I remember him saying, seriously, you think that they are superstitious enough that they wouldn't get married in 2013? Well, mark my words, a couple months later, he came back through the shop and he said, Krista, it's nationwide, and you were right. This is going to be one of the hardest years. And we just survived the recession. So 2013 became a really hard year as I hung on for dear life. And I had to have faith to make it through my year. And that became still a powerful year because it's the year that I trusted God to provide manna. It's the year that as I was walking to the bank with not enough money to pay the bills, I heard him say, you will walk through the fire and it will not sweep over you. You will, the water will rush around you, but you will not drown. In other words, yeah, it's bad right now, but I'm not going to let you drown. I'm not going to let you burn. Hang on for dear life. We're going to get through this year. What a great year that ended. I mean, financially, stress level, not a great year. But coming out through the other end, closer to God than I've ever been because I had to hang on and I had to learn how to trust him. My word really should have been trust, but it was faith. And then, one word after another, the next year, 2014, I was really, really excited. And I was going to I started choosing my word earlier because I'd be like at the end of bridal season, at the end of my exhaustion about August, September. And at that point, I'm like, I'm choosing a new word. I am tired. So the next one, I prayed about it and I came across the word resolve. And I just knew God was going to do some pretty big things. And that was a pretty powerful year. And each of these words, I'm going to, especially once we get to resolve, I'll do a video just for those years. But that was a year God restored and resolved a lot of, actually, I said restored early. That's the year he resolved. The very next year was restore. And not only did he help me have, I found out resolve the year before, it has multiple meanings. It has that he's going to resolve things, but also you have to have resolve to stay in the game. So that was an interesting year. And then restore was 2015. And then our business was starting to pull out of it. Our family life, some stuff had gotten restored. Restore was also the year in that first recession. We actually had to walk away from our home in order to save our business. And so we were kind of homeless. We moved in with my parents. Even in my 40s, I had to move back in with my parents, but it was mainly because I wanted to hang on to the business and stick with it and see what God was going to do, see what the future was. So I took some hits. We let go of some things like our home and walked away, and then we were there. And in 2015, God, with my word restored. It says in the Bible, I will restore what the locusts have eaten. In other words, it's a promise that something like a plague or some illness, something came and wiped out your crop, wiped out your life, and God promises to restore it. Even if it was done in punishment, he promises to restore it. And that year, we bought a new home, a little wonderful home that we sit in now. We downsized so we wouldn't have that big of a property to take care of, and it's a little easier payment. It's just right. And God restored that. And he actually put us back across the street almost from exactly where we were in the beginning. So I live pretty much 2 houses. I can see my old house, not the one we lost in that. That was a big, crazy house that we had a lot of property and stuff. I'm talking about the perfect neighborhood with our best friends across the street. He restored all of that to me. So these words have meant so much to me. God has used them to teach me. He's used them to help me delve deeper into his word. And then, of course, we got to rebuild in 2016. And of course, we had just moved into a new home. We got to rebuild our lives. We got to rebuild some old relationships. I kind of at that point got to, after finally making it through the recession, we rebuilt the shop and my business. We had a whole new set of employees. We decided to train differently. We began actually kind of rebuilding from the ground up what we had done at Krista's Dress Shop. We made it our mission. I spent some time with God, and he taught me I remade like our purpose statement and what it meant to be in business, what it meant to be an employer. So, and I'll talk about that more in individual videos. But then 2017, I was still struggling through all of this that God was doing. I couldn't find peace, and I've had a hard time my entire life finding peace. I feel like I've been on that journey my entire life. And even as a Christian, I'm like, I should have this peace that passes all understanding. Why do I not feel this? Why am I nervous? Why am I stressed out? Why am I worried? Why am I not trusting God? Why am I not feeling that peace that we're all promised? And that is the year that I found the word shalom. And for the next, 5 years? I have done the word shalom with kind of a side word in years afterwards. And we'll get into some of those in some future videos. But in this video, I kind of wanted to show you how I choose my word, what I do when I study it, all of that kind of stuff. So what is your word of the year? Like I said at the beginning, it's not a mantra. This is not a new age thing. This is not how we're going to manifest great things in our life. No, this is God's opportunity to kind of get you to focus, to get you to draw in closer to him, and to listen a little bit more intently. And so what I do is usually it started out where I would always do my word of the year in January. So I would start in November, December, praying about it and just asking God, please direct me to the right word. What do you want me to study? What do you want me to learn this year? A lot of it's learning, and that's not always so fun. But you got to be obedient and hear and pick the right word. What are you longing for in your life? Is it peace? Is it abundance? Is it prosperity? Or is it love? Forgiveness? Trying to think, start just exploring some words. Open up your Bible in your regular reading. When words start to stand out to you, write them down. When you're listening to a song and something stands out to you, write it down. When you hear a sermon or a talk, or you're in a group of women or friends and all of a sudden somebody says something, write it down And you just kind of ponder over that and pray over that until you'll know when that's your word. And when you find your word, now you've got to find a time period of when you want to start it. So a lot of people start them in January. That's the easiest. But what if you are far away from January? Why can't you start it now? What says a year has to be from January to December? Does God only work on something from January to December? What if it's August to August? What if it's March to March? Wherever you are, you can start now. Or maybe you want to start your birthday to your birthday. Whatever it is, find a time and say, this is when I'm going to start my word of the year every year. And then what I do is I take myself on a date to Barnes & Noble or a local bookstore, grab a coffee, and then I choose a journal. And usually I already know my word of the year at that point. So I'm kind of looking for a journal that kind of feels like that word. Some of my journals, as I got kind of to Shalom, tended to be more, is that Mediterranean? I don't know. But they just have that Shalom feel, a little more Israel and Jewish and stuff like that. Like this one over here reminds me of an ancient rug or something. But maybe it's just that you want it to be kind of cute and flowery. You can do something like that. Maybe you want, this year, I struggled completely to find a journal. I went to Barnes & Noble. I spent hours there. I had my coffee, went through every journal in the place, and nothing looked like me. Nothing sang to me, nothing. So I went to 2 more stores. I think I went to Target and I went to Fred Meyer, and I just walked through, and you wouldn't believe it, but I ended up with a plain black journal. I mean, it's a nice journal, but that was the closest I could find to something that kind of spoke to me. And maybe God's saying something out of that. I don't know. At least I'm leaving room for God to be in that. So anyway, just something that you'll enjoy writing in. Find a good pen. And also just taking that time to take yourself on a date is kind of nice too. And then you start on your date. Start a little earlier from that and start writing usually on the first page. I will actually write the year I will write what my word is. And then this was take 4, believe it or not, 4th try on the same word, but I did end up with a subword later on, which is abide. And then I will write the definition. So I'll look it up in the journey or in the dictionary. I will just find out, and I'll start to write all of the definitions of what abide means, or what at that point when it was Shalom, I wrote all of the different meanings. I looked it up in dictionaries. I looked it up in the back of your Bible has a concordance and dictionary. And so you could look up your words there. You could look up and put maybe a key verse. You could put, here I've actually got my words, since I kept with Shalom, and this is the 4th year. These are actually, the first year was just Shalom. The second year, partway through, I did Shalom take 2. Partway through, I found out that every verse I was looking at had the word obey in it. It just kept popping up. So it was Shalom with a side word of obey. The next year was Shalom, and then all of a sudden everything I was studying was saying love. I went through John and some other where it was just love, 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 and I learned some great things about that. And then the 4th year was Shalom, abide, and that means to kind of hide and be safe and tucked in. And that was actually 2020. Where else would you want to be tucked in and safe in 2020? So you start and you do kind of your title page, and then just write. I just write the date when I started, and then I just start writing things. I might write a verse. I might write, oh, on this one, I'm just writing my prayers for the year because we're just getting started. This is actually in November, so I did it early. I actually started, I used to always do it in January. For some reason now, I always seem to start looking for my word in September. It's like my bridal season's over, my exhaustion's over, and now I want a refresh and a restart. And so I actually write a prayer for my business life, in my family life, for my I write out a prayer for my husband. I write out a prayer for my children, stuff like that. I just write down decisions I'm trying to make. I might write a little letter to God. I might write little things that just say, just keep walking in the Spirit. In other words, just keep going, keep swimming. Little things. And then I just, through the year, open it up. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be every week. It just has to be on a regular basis that I pull it out and I just kind of journal, or I write down things that I find. And then I just start searching the Bible for every, like, so in 2020 it was abide. So I'll go in the back and look up abide, and then I look up every verse that has that in it. So I can just start to get a feel for that. And then whenever I read a verse, I never read just that verse. I want to see what it means in context. So I always read at least 10 verses above it, at least 10 verses below it. That way I kind of know what the whole picture of what's going on and start to get to know that. But then I end up, just leaving my ears and my eyes open. And I just jot down the whole year, everything I hear about it. This year was my year of freedom. And I left my business. And my word was freedom, shalom/freedom. And I had to learn how to be free. I shut the business down March 31st. It is now about mid-August. I think it's the 23rd. And I'm still learning how to be free because I'm in some old patterns and some old habits of a person who's in prison. So I need to learn more. I keep learning more. I keep searching more. But anyways, and now here in a couple months, I'll be getting ready to do my new word, and I'm not sure what that's going to be. It's kind of exciting to know what's kind of going to bring next. But I don't know if you have any questions about getting a word of the year. If you have any suggestions for other people of ways you can study that word or use that word, I'd love to hear that. I would love you to join. I would love you to join me on this journey, and maybe this coming year, 2022, or the fall of 2021, you can start a journey towards better understanding. And I'm going to share with you, like I said, I've planned on making a video for not every journal all the way back to 2012, but some of the better, especially my Shalom years, my years that I finally found peace and found the answers because I dug so deep that I actually hit diamonds, and God was so good. So I'd like to make a video for each of those, and I will do that. But I first wanted to talk to you about Word of the Year and hope maybe you'll join me in that. So for now, it's late, so I'm gonna probably head into bed, and maybe I think I need to get some dinner. But I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful month, a wonderful year to come. And shalom, and we will see you next time in the next video. Thank you.